Obviously, we're in week 4. I'm real happy with our team. A lot further ahead than I would have imagined us to be if I would have kind of sat back and tried to figure out where this team would be after 3.5 weeks of practice. Very happy with the guys. All that can change in about a month, but I don't worry about stuff like that. Right now, all indications are that these guys are going to manage the season the right way, and we'll deal with those emotions when they get here. But for now, they're a lot of fun to be around.
Questions, guys?
Frank, the last time we talked with you, you mentioned you were going to start installing the defense pretty soon. How have they taken to it?
It's not pretty, but it's been a lot better than I thought it would be with so many first-year guys, and it's been pretty good. We got the. I can tell you this: we block a lot more shots than we ever have around here. KG's become a presence as a shot blocker. Chris is Chris. Mike is much stronger, much more understanding on rim protection. Ibby can block shots. Justin Minaya blocks shots. We're pretty good in that category. But we're like typical first year guys, we're still getting beat off the dribble, and we gotta fight that. We haven't brought referees in yet to call fouls, but from what I'm seeing, I don't see a lot of hand checks right now. There is some fouls, and that's normal for first couple of weeks of practice, but I don't see a lot of hand checks, which is the ones that are troubling for us because of how we play. So I don't know. I'm pretty pleased right now.
Hey, Frank, I know you hate talking about last year, so we'll talk about this year. But what are some of the qualities from that team last year that you want this team to embrace to maybe get back to that point?
It's one team has nothing to do with the other, but however, the previous team's DNA creates the fabric that exists in that locker room every single day, and that's the one thing that doesn't change. We had a different fabric in 2013 than we had in 16 last summer? Yeah. Now in 2017, that fabric continues to get thicker and stronger because there's more layers to it. It's intertwined a little tighter because of the amount of work and success combined that has gone in. That creates an internal peer pressure that we don't have to talk about Final Fours and all that stuff. It's an internal peer pressure. Hassani lived the Final Four run. Hassani lived being on the court. Hassani lived having to practice against Senderis and Dwayne every single day. So now Hassani sees it's my turn to build on that. And he doesn't want to be the guy that gets blamed for not doing his part. And that's that peer pressure that you fight so hard to create. So I don't have to go in there and talk to the guys about last year's Final Four team or this or whatever. I think I just made reference for the first time on Tuesday's practice about how good last year's team was defensively, and I spoke about that. But I never bring up the whole, how many games we won and school record and all that stuff. That's for fans. That's for history. That's for banners. That's not for publicity within our own locker room. They know that. They were in there. And they have a responsibility to uphold now because of it.
Coach, on Monday, just how much rust are you expecting from your guys, and what's the main thing you want to see your team get out of Monday?
Just want to, I can care less about the score, Monday. Exhibition games, that's why they're called exhibition games. Obviously you don't ever want to lose a game. If you're putting on the uniform and there are fans in the stands, you want to win. If you're a competitor and you're playing a pickup game, you want to win. But there's a bigger picture, and that's for me to to just see some of the guys I've never coached in a game before, to see how they manage the emotions of a missed shot in front of fans, a call by an official, the score, substitutions when, maybe they don't want to come out, and I'm taking them out because they need to come out, and all those things. It's I want to learn our players a little bit in game situations, and then the last part is, I had a pretty good feel for Sindarius, Dwayne, PJ, Chris playing together. I didn't have much of a feel for Mike Coatsard this time of year last year. You start kind of feeling combinations and players and who can do what and who can't do what and who plays better with who. And, if I've got two guys that are real good defensively on the court, what guy offensively can kind of fit in to complement those guys to make us better offensively with certain rotations. It's all the stuff that you got to figure out, and you pay close attention to me and my substitution patterns early in the year. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. Starts to quiet down as the season progresses because I'm trying to prepare everyone on our team, and I'm trying to learn from our team as much as I can.
Coach, with all the upgrades and improvements in facilities the last few years, with the practice facility, the new things here in the arena this year, how has that helped your program? How does it help your program? And where does South Carolina now, I guess, compare to your competition?
I think I don't want to speak for Dawn because her success is incredible. I know her and I are on the same page on this. I think it's no surprise that we actually have had a place to practice in for 2 years, and we've set school records for wins back-to-back years. I think that go hand in hand. It's this building finally, it's a beautiful building. This building is as good as any building for basketball in our conference that had no personality. If you took somebody that didn't know that this was Columbia, South Carolina, blindfolded them and put them in this building, they'd have no idea that they played basketball in this building. Now it's starting to have a flavor that there's actually two very good basketball teams that call this home and that they play for the University of South Carolina. So we've made tremendous progress there. There's still a long ways to go. Still a long ways to go. It's, Ray's worked his tail off to create better opportunities for the way that we try to conduct our programs, both Don and I. We're 2012, you've heard me say this before, there was apathy. Apathy isn't just in the way people play. Apathy is in everyone that was involved with the program and their attention to it. And that's not there anymore. But there's still a long ways to go. It's, listen, I was raised, and it's how I live my life. I don't worry about what others have. I don't worry about what I don't have. I worry about what I do have. And that's all I care about. You start kind of seeing what some of these schools around the country have from a basketball facility standpoint. We're still not there. But we're making progress, and we got the right people in place. So I'm happy about that.
How has Corey progressed to this point? You mentioned your track record of guys going from first year to second year. How does that relate to transfers, and specifically him, having that time off the floor last year but still practicing with you?
Yeah, everything's different, but I'm a big believer that you look at history to see kind of how things are probably going to work out. And if you look at my history with sit-out players in the past, they've had a lot of success from day one on the court. I think it'll be the same way with him. I'm so big on people understanding people. We all think it's about, what plays we run. And every coach in high major basketball has great plays. It's about understanding the people, them understanding you and you understanding them. Then all of a sudden your X's get bigger because the players are better prepared and more confident because the coaches have better understanding. So now your X's and O's become more powerful than maybe they were before. The sit-out year allows me to understand Corey. It allows Corey to understand me. Corey is a very intelligent young man. He sat there, on the side when he wasn't involved in what we were doing, and he paid attention to how I manage players. So he understands what gets under my skin and what doesn't get under my skin. He understands what allows me to trust and what doesn't allow me to trust. So he's embraced that, and vice versa. I've been able to have unbelievable conversations with him. He was an integral part of our team last year, even though he didn't get to play. And he's a very talented player. I had one of these, one of these national guys text me yesterday, and writers I'm talking about, national college basketball writer, and and I told him, I read what you wrote. I said, and what was funny is when Corey transferred, he was ranked as either the top transfer in the country or the second best transfer in the country. Canyon Berry, I think, was the one that might have been ranked ahead of him in some places. Now, all of a sudden, he's an under-the-radar guy. Come on, really? I'm not real smart, but I can add 2 + 2 now. Come on.
Frank, that benefit game in about 10 days with Virginia Tech, how important was it for you to want to do something and hold something here? And beyond what it's going to mean to the people affected, how can this help your guys prepare for the season?
Yeah, there's a greater meaning in what we do than winning games. It's coaches get hired and fired by their win-loss record. I get that. But the players need to understand that the meaning is a little deeper and a little greater than the winning and losing. This is not the NBA. This is college basketball. We're in the stage where we're still trying to impact young people to become adults, to understand what it takes to succeed, to understand what it means to represent a university. Our fans of college basketball, they don't go watch G League, D League, or P League games. They don't go watch NBA games for the most part. They want to see the Gamecocks play. And regardless of who's wearing a uniform, they want to see the Gamecocks play. I think the same can be said of any university across the country. Our players, unfortunately, not just ours, when I say ours, I'm talking about college basketball players, are being prepared to think that it's all about them. And our big mission in college basketball is to teach them it's not about you. It's about you being a part of this. Buzz and I are very adamant about that. Buzz and I, we speak a lot about how we conduct our programs, about life, about kids, the whole thing. And so when this got passed, he and I immediately, got on the phone and we started coming up with ideas and plans. And, I shouldn't say because you don't know, I'm telling you. We're still having one of those kind of private, you don't know about deals on Saturday. And then Saturday late afternoon, we're doing something in the community, like both teams. So they understand we're not coming here because the score of the game's important. We're coming here because you're doing something that's greater than basketball. You're giving of yourself to impact those that need. So since the money being raised is going to go to Texas, Florida, Puerto Rico, we also wanted to make sure that we impacted this community. So both teams are going to be doing stuff in the community on Saturday.
Do you know what you're doing yet?
Emily's going to put that out. Yeah, we're still trying to find out, because if you ask Buzz, I'm sure you're going to get a chance. We might. Emily doesn't know this. He and I are talking about possibly doing a joint press conference on Saturday. And just to give you guys more information about the mission, the purpose, the whole thing. But it needs to be powerful. And we can't make all this money from folks, pretty much from this area, and then ship it other places. That's awesome that our people are willing to do that. But we also have to impact this community that's supporting the cause. So that's what we're trying to do.
Frank, of your returning players, which guys shown the most improvement so far in practice?
the three guys that played the most minutes have all taken big step forwards. Hassani, Chris, and Mike. Those three guys have taken huge steps forward. Hassani has actually been real good at the point in practice. He's different than PJ at the point, but in his way, he's been real good at it. Chris has taken a huge step as a player. So has Mike. Mike is so much more confident than he was a year ago with what he's doing, how he plays, his strength. I say this over and over, and when our guys get around our strength coach, Scott Greenawalt, for an extended period of time, they're who they are changes. Their self-esteem grows, their strength grows, their athleticism grows. Mike's going to be a perfect example of that when our fans watch him play. Kadeem Gee's also taken a big step forward as a player. KG's really, really playing well right now. He's becoming a presence at the rim defensively, and last year was hard to involve him on offense because he played tight, so he struggled to catch the ball. Now he's catching the ball and he's getting shots, and that allows him to have confidence, so he continues to grow. But those are the four guys that come to mind. I'm not going to include Corey on that yet because he actually Corey's much better now than he was when he got here. Yeah, I'll tell you guys a little deal about Corey. The summer when he first got here, in individuals, I think everyone in this room saw it. Sindarius and Dwayne were pretty good defenders. Corey would toy with them when he was on offense. He'd score on them every time, and they couldn't do anything. So, but Corey's also overcome, since then, he's overcoming a knee surgery, and which he's going to be fine with. So it's a matter of him getting back to the place he was at mentally from a basketball playing standpoint, but he's so much stronger, more prepared, and in a much more comfortable place in his mind to be able to chase success that I expect him to do that. But those are the guys, that might be all the guys, but those are the guys that, for the most part, come to mind there, Rick.
Well, Colin, Hale, and Will.
Coach, you touched on defense, and I think earlier you mentioned a treadmill in practice. Is that an old Huggins thing, or is that just something you picked up? And maybe what does a player have to do to maybe get on the treadmill during practice?
Yeah, that's Bob Huggins, Scott Greenawalt. I used to make guys run the whole team. That's why I've changed. People say, where have you changed? I used to, when my whole mission in life has been I have a responsibility for everybody, not just some. I'm not responsible just for the good players, or I'm not just responsible for the guys that listen. I'm responsible for everybody. That's kind of my deal. But I've learned that if you got 12 guys that are trying to do everything the right way, and you got 2 that are just not wanting to learn or be on the same page, you got to fix that. And if the leadership is good, and the leadership is trying, then I got to protect the leadership. What I've learned is that when the leadership is not good, then you got to impose that on everybody to force people basically to draw a line in the sand and say, yo, be on my side or be on that side. Then that allows me to help the guys on the right side. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Our leadership's pretty good right now. They're trying to figure it out, but they're trying. So it's good. So we just had a guy that he basically spent the whole practice on the treadmill the other day because he just acted like he didn't know, or just, wasn't prepared to practice or whatever. I learned that from Hugs and Scott. And I used to then, this is the other part where I learned from Scott, I wanted them to run on the court because, like, my old rear end with bad knees, I can still kind of run on a treadmill. And if I try to run on the street, my knees swell up and I can't walk for 2 days. So I just think running on a treadmill is kind of easy. So I said to Scott, I'd make them run on the court. He said, no. I said, because if they run on the court, they're not going to make time. If they don't make time, then they make me mad, meaning Scott. And if they make me mad, I can't get them back in practice because now I'm going to stay on them. And they came here to play basketball, not to run with me on the side. And I said, so why the treadmill? He says, when they get on the treadmill, I get to push the button and they run the speed I want them to run at. So makes a lot of sense to me. And, you know, that's what we do. And then they jump off the treadmill, like we'll be in a drill. And I'll just holler their name, and they got to fly off the treadmill right into the drill and do it the right way, or they're going right back to the treadmill. And it's, so you know what's happened? I'm not as crazy as I used to be. They dislike the treadmill instead of me now. It's
Going back to earlier with the facilities talk, and if I misunderstood you, excuse me. I think you said there's still a long way to go. Like, what are some of the things that are next in the process in your mind that need to help you guys continue to build?
That's not fair to Ray Tanner. Ask him. He and I have had those conversations. It's not fair for me to say
Okay.
that. We have great space here. We have to utilize it better. There's got to be more detail. There's got to be more. Have you been to the baseball stadium? Yeah. I couldn't say this 5 years ago. I can say it now. Have you been there? Have we won a national championship in basketball over on this side of campus? Yes. Women just won one. Right. We just came off the greatest year in school history. So now we've got a little success, so we can advertise a little bit. That make sense? I think so. That's, you've been to football? Huh? Yeah. $58 million building's gone up real fast, hasn't it? So it's not fair to Ray for me to be commenting on some of those specifics, but he and I speak about it all the time. He's on board. If it wasn't for him, what's gotten done, it wouldn't have gotten done. He's the one that's figured out a way to push it to make it happen. Don and I have tried to do our jobs. He's tried to do his job. I think we've all grown. We can't stop. They won an ACC championship here, right? Football team? No. Why would I be talking football?
But they did in 1969.
I like Will, but I'm not here to talk about Will's team. That basketball won an ACC championship. Point there. Point, Dave. Point. There you go. Hey. That's like the fan that walks in and says, what you guys ever get done around here? Oh, okay. They also won an SEC championship here. Why did after those championships the school go and everyone else go? Because people didn't pay attention to investing on the success. They took it for granted. So other people built, we just kind of stayed the same. In life, you never stay the same. You're either moving forward or you're going backwards. And we went backwards because we never grew. I don't know if that, you're looking at me like I'm speaking Chinese right now.
I look like this all the time.
Okay. I feel better now. But that's what we can't allow the momentum that we have created, I'm not saying me, we have created here over the last 5 years. We can't allow that to go to waste. They didn't do that in baseball. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not taking a shot. I love it. I love the fact that baseball here's won national championships and I get to work for that guy. I love the fact that when I go in their building, I can see, think about the players that play there. You think anyone needs to tell them the kind of success that they've had before them? All you got to do is walk through there. And like they look around, they're like, ooh, I better do right around here. No one needs to tell them, to the question earlier, no one needs to tell them, you know what we had 5 years ago? Our players would walk by and see blank concrete walls. They go out in an arena to play. They had no idea, other than the fact that they played here, that's what we do here, play basketball. That's all that needs to change. It's part of it. You go to football, heck, I just read, I don't know, I read sometimes. Sometimes I guess we're putting like some big statue. Is this public information? Yes. How much is that costing? And I get it. Football brings a big old check into this university every year. I understand. I'm not against that. We need some of that personalization for basketball because there has been some success, so we got to grow it. You look a lot clearer now. I feel like I reached you. You did. Good job. I feel like I reached you.
Back to the floor. What would it take in this non-conference season, aside from the overall record, what would it take for you to either be satisfied with the progress? What tangibly do you have to see from this group to know that you've reached them and that you've made the kind of progress you want to see?
Yeah, I'm going to answer your question in a second, but you said something that triggered something in my head. You know, I know some coaches say they don't read, they don't listen, they don't this, whatever. I'm getting to the point in the year where I do stop reading and listening. But the rest of the year, I do read and listen. Do me a favor, because you guys cover our team. And I've already read this. I've already heard this. We're not playing a soft non-conference schedule. Don't regurgitate that, please. That's insulting to me, okay? That's insulting to our players, okay? If you actually do your homework and you want to say we're not playing a big-name team, I can live with that, okay? Our strength of non-conference schedule, RPI, is better than last year's non-conference strength of schedule, RPI. Do a little legwork. Western Michigan's picked to win their league. We're going to play them probably twice. Wyoming just won 22 games. They're good. Returned their whole team. So let's not do that. And if you choose to do that, do whatever you want, but don't expect me to be very happy with you. That's your choice. You said that, it triggered that in my head. No, but you said the non-conference schedule, and it triggered that in my head, and it's something that I wanted to share with the folks that cover our team. Because I'm just telling you, that insults me. When people say I'm soft or I like soft, that insults me. That insults my players. If you guys are coming to watch them practice today, right? Or you're going to watch an hour. That's 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, what you get ready to watch. So if for anyone to ever insinuate that we try to go soft, that's insulting to everyone in our locker room. So I'm not picking on you. I'm just making a comment for everybody. Please don't do that. We're not cut that way around here, okay? I think that the non-con schedule it's pretty good. Texas Tech, everyone says, belonged in the NCAA tournament last year. They return every guy on their team. Clemson's supposed to be. It's the other thing. We play Clemson. Brad and I talk about this all the time. They get no credit for playing us. No one ever gives them credit for playing South Carolina. No one ever gives us credit for playing Clemson within our own media. So why do we play the game if everyone views it as a bad non-conference game? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, if we're going to play the game, then let's give ourselves credit for it, but let's not treat it like we're playing a bad team on either side. Last time I checked, I get the whole deal about the NCAA tournaments and all that, but last time I checked, they're touching 20 wins every single year. They're not a bad basketball team. They're actually a good basketball team, very well-coached basketball team. So our schedule's pretty good. I'm curious to see, I don't think there's another coach in the country that'd be as dumb as me to play Wofford at Wofford, first game of the year. It's got to be. I definitely got hit with a hammer too hard over my head when I was a kid, but that's a hard game. Mike is one of the best coaches in college basketball. Just don't know about it because he is at a smaller school that doesn't get the publicity that it deserves. We're going to learn a lot about our players because we are playing good teams, so we're not going to have easy wins. I'm going to learn how they manage success and failure. I'm going to learn how they manage getting taken out of games, because when you have easy games, I know what easy games are. I scheduled a game, I'm not going to say the name of the school because it's not fair to them. When I was at Kansas State, in the middle of conference play, we had a bye week, and we scheduled the game. And I told we played a conference game on a Saturday. We weren't playing again till the following Saturday. So we played a midweek game against a bad team. And I told As soon as that Saturday game ended, I said, who's got the scout? It was Matt Figger. I turned to Matt, I said, you're riding solo, big boy. I'm not doing a single thing to help you on Wednesday. And I didn't. I helped the kids during the game. I didn't watch a second of film. I didn't watch the opponent. I didn't know who was a shooter. I didn't know anything because I knew they were a bad team. So we don't have any of those games because when you have a bad opponent, you know you're going to win. So your players get away with mistakes. We're not going to have those opportunities. So that means that when guys make mistakes, it's going to cost us. When it costs us, I got to take them out of games and deal with them. How do they manage those moments? I'm going to learn a lot about our guys. And hopefully they learn a lot about me, how to do things, how not to do things. They've been great to now, but that's why I said a month from now that might change because the games are a little different than practices. So I just got off my soapbox there. Sorry about that.
Dave, Andrew, and Matt.
Frank, have you guys set a time to hang the banner, hand out rings if you're going to do that?
Not yet. Right, Em?
Working on it.
I know I had a meeting on that, and there's some conversations as to how and when, but that's why I looked at my boss at that department.
I actually didn't know about that one. Andrew?
You kind of referenced this a little bit, talk about the non-conference, but you mentioned in Nashville the biggest question you have about this team is seeing how they handle moments because there are a lot of new faces. Can you simulate that at all in two exhibition games, maybe particularly more against Virginia Tech than on Monday?
You get a feel for it. You get a feel for it, but at the end of the day, the players also know that game doesn't count from a one-loss standpoint. Here's the thing with college basketball, which is an emotion the players have to deal with that's different than probably any other sport. Okay, you can't lose a game. Every time you lose one game, you're probably left out. You don't have enough games to make up a loss. There's too many teams. So as soon as you lose a game, like just think about it. They've created a way to make money out of March Madness in December. Like TV shows, like people pay attention to the internet and who's in, who's out in December. Really? In December? But that's because everyone says that college basketball regular season, it's not important. Look what coaches look like once the season starts. Tell me that doesn't look important. Every game can either decide you're in or out. There's no other way about it. And so, excuse me. There's some unknown to our basketball team as far as games go. I can't figure that out until the games start. And there was a lot of known for me with our team last year. If you ask any guy, they'd rather go into a season knowing their team than not knowing their team. But there's a lot of newness, too, that's exciting. Different voices. You know, here's what I'll say in comparison to last year and this year, the whole thing. If we had the same voices in the gym, it'd be very comforting, but I can see where everybody would be like, we got this. And that puts us in a bad place eventually. But with so many new voices and new emotions and new ways of doing things, I think there's a newness that's kind of kept everyone on edge. So that's been good. But at the same time, we get judged on the games, not on our practices. We can be great practice. We lose a game, I'm going to have to sit here and look at you guys and try to explain why we weren't good enough on that day. You know, and I can tell you we practiced real good for 4 days, and you're really not going to care. And I don't expect you to care. That's my problem. But there's a lot of stuff that because of the conference schedule, we're going to learn about our team. I gear everything up for conference play. That's always been my objective. Get our team ready for conference play. get our team ready to conference play so we can be the best that we can be in February leading into March. That's the way I try to do things and manage my team. Always have, always will. You just hope that along the way of November and December, you don't stub your toe in a way that it's held against you come March.
Last question to Matt.
Coach, just from what you've seen on campus, has the excitement level with students started to support both teams? And also, how's Martin's Math Club grown in the few months that you've been doing it?
I laugh because I was on a phone conversation with someone on campus before I came over here, and I told them that in 2012 I could have walked around with a sign that said my name and what I do on campus, and people would still ask, and what do you do, and who are you, where'd you come from? Students, it's completely different. It's a different animal. It's fun. I don't get out of bed and work every day to be accepted by people on the outside, but I'm a human being. I'd rather people care than not. And for us to be good, we need our fans on board. We need our student section has to be crazy. My first year, we internally in the office, we used to joke about this because there were so few students would come to games our first couple of years here. And, the game would end, and, they're out there singing the alma mater, and, we weren't on the winning side a whole lot. And there's always one student still left in the student section. He was a big old red-haired kid. And, I'd stand there and look at him, and I'd be like, wow, this dude, we got to win to make this guy proud to stick this out with us. And, now student section's crazy. And it's a lot of fun. And so it's completely different. It's fun. We finally created a home court environment. We need to keep growing it, not take it for granted. We need our students. We need everyone in there. Set a school record for attendance last year. I don't want to misspeak. Is that true? We set a school record for attendance last year. We don't need to take that for granted. We need to realize what an impact that had on a basketball program and grow it, make it stronger. Fans aren't going to accept me coming in here saying, we went to the first round of the NCAA tournament, right? They're going to expect us to continue to grow and build and go play on Monday, not just on Saturday. I'm okay with that. But that means our fans need to be on board with the continued growth and commitment and all that stuff. It all goes hand in hand. And setting, averaging 13, whatever we averaged last year, that was great for last year. Well, we need more this year because it's going to get harder. So I don't know. I'm happy. I'm in a good place. I love the feeling we have now when we walk out of the tunnel. What our arena looks like, the atmosphere during the game. It's starting to get like what it needs to be to create that mindset. I said it here 5 years ago or 4 years ago after my first season. There's a big difference. You walk out in football, and teams are in the tunnel trying to come out. And they're doing the whole opening, and you hear the whole song and the whole pregame ceremony and the student section going nuts and 80,000 people waving that white handkerchief while Sandstorm's playing or whatever it is. And you're on the other team, you're like, ooh. 5 years ago, you walk out on the court and you're like, oh, my God, these guys are bums. No one cares. It's the truth. It's not like that anymore. Now people we play, they walk out and they see our people there, and there's a little mindset that's created in the opponents that's much needed for somebody to have a home court advantage. Yeah, what a great organization. I'm so proud of marketing, who came to me with that idea. I'm so proud of our state educational governance system that has adopted it. The schools that have decided to utilize it in their lessons. I love it. I got to do something yesterday that I hadn't done since 1999, which is actually have a math lesson and have to go into a classroom and teach it. I've gone in to speak to different schools that are in support of the program, but I hadn't actually taught a lesson since 1999. And it's, I was nervous the night before, fourth graders, and I was nervous. And then I went in there and had the time, I felt like a young kid again trying to teach class, and that was a lot of fun. And the joy in kids doing math, it's a credit to that school. It was Pontiac Elementary. It's a credit for that teacher, for the atmosphere that she's created in her classroom. And then those kids were phenomenal in interacting the way they did, and their enthusiasm for multiplication and the lesson was a lot of fun. I miss it. I miss the classroom. I've said this before, and a lot of people probably think it's just me trying to say something nice. I mean, one day I hope when I'm done with this nonsense, where people really care about the scoreboard rather than life, I'm going to end up in a classroom again, because that brings unbelievable joy to me. Yep.